Louder. I can't hear you.
Me either.
However, as evidenced by ongoing incidents of racial and gender-based violence across the U.S., Black women and girls experience disproportionate rates of violence at the hands of police. In 2013, Black women accounted for 53.4% of all women stopped by police. Despite constituting only 13% of the U.S. population, Black girls are over-policed and under-protected at rates that are higher than many other racial groups. Sexual misconduct by police officers or public officials is the second most prevalent form of police crime. Survivors of police violence are often reluctant to report a crime committed by police to the police. In addition, police officials often use a limited definition to assess incidence rates, and officers tend to profile survivors whose credibility may be doubted. When victims do report, police departments systematically undercount the number of reported assaults by approximately 1 million cases. The actual number of assaults committed by police is likely higher due to underreporting. As such, Black Women's Blueprint recommends addressing police violence, specifically against Black women and girls, by taking comprehensive steps towards truly robust prevention and treatment measures. This includes the passage of the End of Racial Profiling Act of 2015, currently in the House, enforcing a zero-tolerance policy for sexual assault and harassment committed by law enforcement against the public, treating police for discriminatory acts that negatively impact their work with the public, and training them accordingly, prohibiting the use of tasers on pregnant women and children and on women in restraint, amending current laws so battered women are not criminalized for defending themselves, requiring the appointment of independent outside investigators and prosecutors in cases of police misconduct and police brutality, adopting arrest procedures that respect Black women's gender identities and process them accordingly, and prohibiting exploitative court fines and fees that criminalize poor people. Just to keep it very brief, I think everybody's familiar with all the treatment steps that are relevant to that. However, I'd like to put on the table the population, one of the populations portions affected by police misconduct and violence issues. So thank you.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask a question to the U.S. government, if I may.
Excuse me, I just got a text from a person on the phone saying they can't hear because of music.
Yeah, okay, I mentioned this earlier. This is a little challenging because it's likely that someone's on hold. So to the person who texted Chuck about the music, that may be music from someone's hold. We're not playing music in here, unfortunately. But if anyone else is thinking about going on hold, please don't do it. And other than that, I'm not sure there's a lot we can do about it.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask a question to the U.S. government. May I?
She'd like to ask a question.
For us on the phone, I'm sorry, we've got a list of RSVPs. There are 2 people on the phone who are RSVPs. We've got 3 other speakers or 4 other speakers before you. We're going to get through those, and I'm not sure we'll have much time for anything else.
I understand that. That's why I'd like to ask a question to the U.S. government. You guys speak about treaties, but you never talk about the 1933 bankruptcy, and you're neglecting the Native Indian community.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're going to keep going through our comments. I did hear that, and I'll make a note of it, but at this point, we're going to keep going through who wrote into that.
Well, we would like to be heard, too. I mean, I could hear you talking about the entire world except 564 federal recognized tribes.
I understand. I think there's another working group that's going to touch on those issues. Is that right? Ocean State helped me out here.
Yes, but you're talking about treaties. We have treaties here too, and we're listed in the Chronicle list of international treaties worldwide. We should be able to talk here or wherever we want, and we can talk in the United Nations.
Okay, ma'am. I think your comments are valuable, and if you do want to hear them, it's just that's going to be the next session, which at this point is going to start in 10 minutes.
Yes, but I would like you guys to hear them too, not just myself. It'd be nice.
We're going to have folks in the room from all of our agencies in the same session. And actually, we're just going to give it a few more minutes, so we'll go to 4:30. We'll stay at 4:25, so the next session can start at 4:30. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jesse. So 4:25.
See, if I didn't say nothing, you would have left me out. That's wrong.
Thank you. All right, the next speaker
It's a treason of treaties on the indigenous nations. You're neglecting us.
There's too many people talking. On mic.
400 educators, students, higher education faculty, members of nonprofit organizations, representatives from national teacher unions and other stakeholders dedicated to promoting a vibrant, effective base for human rights education in the United States. Knowledge of human rights standards is fundamental to the principle of accountability within the human rights system. Duty bearers need to understand their responsibilities in light of international human rights commitments, and rights holders need to know what their government representatives are responsible to abide by. There is now a UN Declaration on Human Rights Education and Training, and increasing acceptance there is a right to human rights education. In the United States, there's currently no comprehensive national framework or action plan on human rights education within K-12 education, primary or secondary, higher education, or the training of educators and professionals. There's either a focal point for human rights education or a National Human Rights Institute with a mandate to provide and ensure quality human rights education. The lack of such a framework or focal point seriously compromises all human rights initiatives which rely upon knowledgeable state and local participation within the United States federal system. So we have 4 recommendations. 1, the U.S. government in cooperation with governmental and civil society stakeholders should develop and implement a national plan of action for human rights education as called for in the UN World Program for Human Rights Education. The plan of action should be developed before the midterm review that follows the second cycle of U.S. UPR. 2, the U.S. government should make a public statement in support of human rights education by 2016 and in an ongoing manner submit reports to the OHCHR on the implementation of the World Program on Human Rights Education as called for in each phase of the World Program. 3rd, the U.S. government should appoint a focal point for the coordination of the plan of action by the midterm review to liaise with states and municipalities on an ongoing basis in identifying and developing best practices for state and local implementation of human rights education and integration of human rights education into other human rights related initiatives. And 4th, the U.S. government should inform states, municipalities, state education departments, and school districts of their treaty obligations related to human rights education that have been ratified and the implied obligations for those treaties that have been signed but not ratified. Thank you.
Our treaty has been ratified, bypassed Congress, and went straight to the UN. It'd be nice to be heard.
Hi, Mariana Terol from the Center for Women's Global Leadership. I just wanted to make a few comments on the importance of using non-discrimination, inclusion, equity, and equality as guidance for the realization of human rights in the United States. For that to be possible, although we're talking about specific recommendations, we need to also prioritize the ratification and all the recommendations that were made on the ratification of the relevant international human rights treaties, including CEDAW and the Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. There are whole groups of people that were excluded from the recommendations. There were whole ranges of rights that were discussed during the UPR review. And for us to bring them back into the framework of realization, we need to acknowledge that we are trying to implement an incomplete set of standards and to really recognize the beauty of human rights, which is a full range of rights. We need to also have that discussion. So also, even conceptually, all the recommendations on equal pay of women and discrimination in the workplace were removed from this list, and I imagine they're in the next working group. But it is important for civil society to understand what the framework you're using, because we're constantly, we were in the last session and implementation of treaties was moved to other sessions, and now we're here, and then equality, equal pay is moved to the next session. So again, this is the dynamic that has led to a lot of rights falling off the wagon in this discussion. So we wanted to flag that and to try to invite the administration to figure out how we can have
a checklist of things we want to discuss, even if they don't make it to the table, because I think they're a priority to Native American groups. They're a priority for Latino men and women that are also discriminated by the police, and a whole range of other groups. So to really look at the inclusive range of human rights, and keep on moving forward with this as we continue this town hall discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Okay, now we have two speakers on the phone who also had RSVP'd. Is Anne Claire Block on the phone still?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. Thank you for convening this civil society consultation. We are very appreciative of this opportunity to discuss the implementation of recommendations coming out of the UPR. The Avon Global Center for Women and Justice at Cornell Law School has participated in a CAT review as well as the UPR, focusing on the issue of military sexual assault. While we have seen progress, we support the two UPR recommendations, specifically addressing the issues of prevention, improving survivors' access to justice, and providing redress, and ensuring impartial prosecution. We think these recommendations are critical to see implemented and urge the U.S. to accept these recommendations. Therefore, we are interested in hearing from the U.S. government whether it sees value in implementing structural changes in military justice system, as recommended by Denmark during UPR. Additionally, how is the U.S. taking into account the voices and needs of survivors to prevent sexual violence in the military and to improve the military judicial system dealing with these matters? Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Claire. Mary Garrett, U.S. Human Rights Secretary.
Yes, thank you very much. I will defer a lot of my comments in the effort of time until our next session on health. I would like to echo HMDJ's proposal for a national plan of action relative to discrimination that will impact all of our economic, social, and cultural rights. And as Jamil Zakor pointed out in the earlier session, it's something that we were requested to do long ago. I think that it would be invaluable for us in every way to help our marginalized populations to name and claim their human rights. And the only way to do that, I believe, is a national plan of action. In conjunction with that, I would encourage the government to adopt Recommendation 5.314, which talks about an aim of decreasing poverty and ensuring economic, social, and cultural rights, which the adoption of a national plan of action would definitely do. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all. Now, that completes our list. We'll just say we're do we say that they already have logistical difficulties?
I'd like to ask a question. When are you guys going to listen to the Native American Indian people? I'm originally from Wounded Knee and I have a say at the United Nations. How come you're not listening to us? Why is it you're avoiding what's really going on?
For speakers, what I'm going to try to do is squeeze in another comment or two from people in the room who aren't on the list. But we will continue to create avenues for input and also try to refine the process. But
we have treaties too.
Who has a comment? Let's take this gentleman here. Hi, this is Ryan Kaminsky from UNA USA. I just wanted to echo comments from colleagues from ACLU and Human Rights Campaign on recommendation.
Okay, no more buying cigarettes for you at all, as long as you're here, okay? And no more using my car.
From the UNA USA Grassroots Advocacy Network include passing federal level legislation prohibiting LGBT discrimination in employment, passing legislation addressing the issue of LGBT bullying in schools, expanding resources addressing the issue of LGBT homeless youth, bill of LGBT-focused prohibitions found unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court. Thank you very much for this platform for engagement, and we very much appreciate the opportunity to contribute. Thank you, Ryan. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Ruth Brinkley, and I'm the youth representative for New Future Foundation, UN ECOSOC, as well as Friends of the African Union. And we actually have put a plan of action forward, the Gordy Island Project. Queen Mother Blakely represents the 55 million displaced Africans who have been and still are being victimized with human rights violations Obama to make an executive order and to release a $5 trillion reparations budget. I'm going to cut it short, but that is our plan of action, and we have submitted it to the UN for.
Thank you. We'll do one more comment.
Thank you very much. Jasmine Heights, Senior Campaigner at Amnesty International USA. I'll try to be very quick. As everyone in the room is intimately aware, the most recent UPR process included panoply of recommendations around ill treatment, excessive use of force, and discrimination by law enforcement. As part of implementation, we urge the United States to initiate comprehensive reforms at the state and federal levels to ensure that lethal force standards come into compliance with international and constitutional standards, including Tennessee versus Garner. And with that, I'll just leave it and not go into anything.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question.
This is very helpful, and we're in the process of looking at the recommendations right now, so we'll take all this into consideration. We have a few minutes left.
Hello, can I ask a question?
For state and local, but actually, let me do that first. On the phone, do we have? Is there any interest from the Attorney General Madigan's office, the Attorney General herself, or anyone from her staff, or from Mayor Bell's office in commenting at this point?
Hi, it's Lisa Madigan in Illinois, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for your participation. I know time is running short, so we have been listening both to this breakout session as well as the earlier session, and we are prepared on the next call as well.
Thank you, Attorney General Madigan. It's a real honor to have you join us on the call. Is there anyone from Mayor Bell's office who would like to comment?
Yes, this is Ralph Cook Jr. from Mayor Bell's office, and Mayor Bell unfortunately is in Rome on travel. But we too would like to say thank you for holding this review and comment period. We will submit something in writing to Amanda Wall and look forward to continuing participating in this process. We also urge that that we have increased participation of state and local participants in this process as well.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
But I think what we're going to do is go ahead and push the limit and try to get 5 minutes of government comments in and see if everyone in this group can
I have a question for the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the U.S. government.
She's starting in 5 minutes, madam.
Okay, thank you.
I think that there will be for the government to respond in this session. So is there anyone from the government who wants to respond to anything that was said today?
My name is Emily Neston. I work in the Special Litigation Section of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. I work specifically on police accountability issues within the Civil Rights Division. I just wanted to note that our work around the country enforcing 42 U.S.C. 14141, we specifically put in place in police departments when we have a consent decree with them and advocate in other departments, strengthened accountability systems such that police officers who commit misconduct are held accountable, and they are investigated fully and held accountable for the misconduct they commit. Many of our consent decrees across the country include specific recommendations, many of which were noted today. For example, the use of tasers against women who are pregnant, enforcement of the constitutional standard of Tennessee v. Garner, as I mentioned, strengthened accountability systems. And also the respecting of people's gender identity when conducting searches and arrest procedures and booking into facilities. I would encourage anyone in the room who's interested to look at some of our consent decrees across the country. It contains some of these provisions. The New Orleans Police Department, the Albuquerque Police Department, the East Haven Police Department of East Haven, Connecticut, the Cleveland Police Department consent decree, which was recently signed, and others. If you look on the website of the Special Litigation section, you can see many of those consent decrees, and you can see the public position that the Civil Rights Division has taken with regard to these issues.
I have a question. I've been wanting a question for almost an hour now. Hello.
Are you going to give the list of the individuals who are representing?
That's that question. You know what? I'm going to have to defer that question to the State Department because that's more of a logistical question, and I don't know the answer to it. I'm not sure.
Why is my call being avoided?
I think each working group.
Hello, I am a Lakota from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. I hold the Treaty of Fort Laramie, 1851. I would really like to be heard by the U.S. government.
We're encouraging each working group.
You're being recorded.
That whatever is most appropriate for that working group, allows for some
efficient mode of communication with civil society. But I'm not sure we're mandating a specific, plan for that.
And then finally, is there a possibility of ever having a women's breakout group?
So the reason why we didn't decide to have a specific women's working group is because we felt like the issues were cross-cutting across all of the working groups. And we wanted to make sure that in criminal justice and in the civil rights working group and in the immigration, migrants, trafficking, labor, and children working group, that it was taking a gender perspective into account. So there are recommendations related to women in a lot of groups related to CDAW in UPR working group 6. So we've tried to spread them across the working group so that agencies with substantive expertise in each area are taking a gender and women's perspective into account in evaluating the recommendations.
But I do think that it's a possibility that you can continue to discuss, because there have been certain agencies, some of the UPR consultations have not been, everything related to that. We've been on housing, there's an access to justice that cut across. So if that's an idea you want to propose to working groups, to have one that's focused on women, that's an idea that I think a lot of the working groups would want to consider.
I just wanted to comment on the racial discrimination. Looking at most of the recommendations from the UPR has to do with racial discrimination. And I just want to ask the question for you to consider: when will you make it illegal to engage in negligent discrimination and reckless discrimination? Because that is what is underlying most of the discrimination.
And the Native Indian community discrimination by neglecting what I'm trying to say. God, I swear, I asked for some time and you didn't give me none.
We do have negligent and reckless tort, negligent and reckless crimes. So why not have negligent and reckless discrimination?
Just to close on that, I'll say that that's something that
I am a full blood from Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. I would like to be heard. With all respect, please.
Title 6 or the Fair Housing Act or Title 7 or any other statute that incorporates this impact, which is, I think, what you're getting at when you're talking about negligence or reckless discrimination. We did have a big victory that the Justice Department platform this year, in addition to impact contracts with the Fair Housing Act.
I am talking to the U.S. government on the phone and I'm being neglected to the fullest. Now, how irritating is that? I'm glad I'm recording them.
And I've got it. So I think that's something that essentially to work with the advocates in this room and in the other rooms, and also the government. So thank you for your comments, and thank you everyone for spending this time with us.
Sorry. Who is circulating the list of government representatives who are part of this work? You can touch base with the board and I'll see if I can get the right person in TRL to connect with that. All right.
Thank you for neglecting me. I really appreciate that very much from the U.S. government. I deeply love you so much.
Email the people.
Yeah.